So what I've got here is a pneumatic glue dispenser, and I'm going to modify it to test the fuel injection. And so this is the manual for the glue dispenser, and it shows here on the inside the settings for the switch, and you can set how many pulses you will get from the dip switch setting on the back. So I'm going to go with 4 just for the sake of having multiple pulses. Solenoids, take the cover off here, and looking inside, luckily for me, this right here is the air valve that is actuated by the controller here, and it's set up on, you can control how long it's activated and how often. And luckily it's a 12-volt DC coil. I can read it right here on the side. And so what I'm going to do is just add a connection here out the back, and this will connect to the fuel injection solenoids that I want to test, and then I can just set up the timing and duration and trigger it. You can trigger it here on the front or on the back here. And so it's pretty handy. I can still use it for dispensing glue, and also just by tying across this coil here to the outside, I have a 12-volt output that I can use for other things. So I needed a way to test the fuel injectors on the engine I'm working on, and I realized I have this device here. This is a glue dispenser, pneumatic glue dispenser, and you can program the durations, how long the glue is dispensed and how often. And I'll take the cover off here, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the circuitry for that to fire the fuel injection solenoids. Luckily for me, this is the air solenoid here that's controlled by this board here. And all I need to do, I've looked at it, and on the side here I can read that it's 12-volt DC coil. I don't know if you can see that. But it's in there, 12-volt DC coil. And so what I'm going to do is tie across that and go with an outside connection here. I'm just going to let this hang out the back, and I can tie across it here. And so I'm just going to solder this right across there, and then I'll have 12-volt pulses coming out to the outside that I can use for my fuel injection. So I'm going to turn on my soldering iron. I've already drilled a hole here. You can, however you want to do it. I'm just doing it quick and dirty, sort of, just for my own use. Got a piece of heat shrink here. I'm probably going to silicone rubber that so it won't chafe. So I'm going to come down here and make a knot in this so that it won't be able to be pulled out as easily. And I'll come back and put some glue on that. So I'm just going to tie the red to the red and the black to the black, cover it back up, and then I'll have this handy way of interfacing, tying right across that solenoid there. So my iron's heated up now, so I can just come over here. I don't know if my cord is long enough. So just gonna put I had a circuit that I built for testing fuel injection coils, but I inadvertently hooked it up wrong and smoked it. So instead of rebuilding that, I was like, well, you know, could do that, or I could just make this. Because I have some injectors I want to test. I'm wondering if my iron is strong enough to handle this much. Surface area here. I'm just going to tack them on the side here. So this isn't really going to affect the operation of this glue dispenser. It's just going to give me another output that it didn't have before. Put those right there. I'm going to put some silicone on that to make that not move around. So I've got the wiring hooked up parallel to this solenoid here. So the 12 volts pulse is also occurring on this connector. And so looking at the front here, I can set the duration of the pulse and how many. And every time I push the button, I'll get that amount of pulses. And so I can use this to, on the back here, there's a switch you can configure how many pulses you're going to get right here. And on the front you can determine how long the pulses will be. And there's also a remote control. I can use this push button here, but to plug into the back and have a remote control. So I'll show you what that looks like on the scope. So when I push the button, you'll see the pulses appear. And I can change the width of the pulse. So I'll zoom in and let you have a look here, what it looks like. So that's the injector, and there's the connector for it, and the hard line runs up in here. What it looks like connecting up my, you can see these sets of pins there, those are the injector connectors. And that's a look at the device I'm using to fire the injectors. Alright, I'm going to let all that drip into there. So this is sample number 2. I'll close it. Let's see what I can get now. It lets the air get past. Okay, so I'm going to hold it up here on 6. Give it a second to all drain in there. And so here's the vials from my fuel injection test. You can see I've got the 8 vials here, and they're numbered 1 through 8.